10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 461. All right, everybody, welcome back. Episode 461 of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast is going to be part 4 in our series on Blues for Alice. So we started out by learning the melody. Then we moved into doing something really simple, which was to just eliminate all of the changes and investigate how we could play over Blues for Alice just using your standard F concert blues in its simplest form. And I've heard from a lot of you that, whoa, I did not know that would work. So I assume that's been great work for you. Now, last week, we added a couple of chord changes, and that was really helpful as well. In fact, we went to the spot where the most indicative changes of this tune, like the thing that makes Blues for Alice sound like Blues for Alice, is kind of what we covered last week, which was that chromatic descending chord progression in bars 7 and 8. So this week, we are going to add a couple more changes, and it's going to be in a really consequential area of the form, and you're simply just going to add this to what you are already doing and get closer and closer to having the option of playing with all of the changes. Now, notice I said something really specific there. I said having the option of playing with all of the chord changes. And I think this is really important, and now is the time to talk about this, right? Just because you can play all of the changes and consider all of the changes and play in a way that really traces through all of the harmony does not mean that the musical thing to do is going to be to do that in every chorus. And I really want to impress upon you the fact that, in my opinion, the greatest jazz musicians, they have this incredible ability to be like a chameleon, where sometimes, if it's appropriate, they play like literally every change, and you transcribe what they do, and it's like so clear that they're just thinking about every single chord change, and they're, considering the voice leading and all of those important notes from every chord change. But then a lot of time in the same solo, you'll hear them play something that really doesn't consider any of the chord changes. They'll just kind of play over the top of it, thinking about a key center or something like that. And I am a firm believer that this ability to weave in and out of all these different kinds of styles, all these different ways of playing, all these different ways of thinking about the harmony is a large part of what makes our favorite musicians. Because even hardcore jazz fans, we get tired of listening to somebody play every single chord change in every single chorus. All right. And these master musicians, they understand when to relieve the listener of that pressure, right? And play something that's just bluesy, or leave some space, or come out of a chorus of fierce double time into a chorus of really simple stuff, or holding a note over multiple bars in a range that just makes you absolutely go crazy because it sounds so good. So I just want to impress that upon you as we start to introduce more and more changes. What I'm not telling you to do is to lock into using all of them all the time. But when you're practicing, it can be really awesome to develop the skills to be able to do that when you want to. All right, rant over. Let's get into what we're adding. So if you look at your PDF from this week, what you're going to see is in bars 3 and 4, suddenly there's more chord changes. So if we look at bar 1, we've got that F6 chord. And then we just continue that in bar 2. But now in bar 3, what you will notice is that you've got a concert D minor 7 chord. And then that goes to a concert G7. And then that goes to C minor 7 to F7. And then we land on B flat in bar 5. So what's going on here? Why do we have these changes here? Well, what it is that the blues, in essence, it changes key in bar 5. It's very brief key change, but we sort of tonicize that 4 chord. That's where we're going. So now if you look at these chords through the lens of going to B flat, you realize something. It's 3, 6, 2, 5 in the key of B flat. D minor to G7 to C to F, and then we land on B flat. So basically what we're doing is we're trying to introduce a little bit more forward motion into bar 5. And that's the whole point of them. So when you think about these chord changes, they're not just there arbitrarily, they're there for a reason. And the reason is to give our lines some interest, to build some tension that we're going to release in bar 5. So if we listen to the entire first 5 bars in time, you're going to hear that. Particularly listen for measure 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's what you want to be thinking about in your playing, right? You want to come up with some vocabulary or an ability to handle those changes so that what you play pushes you into bar 5. Now, it's important to realize as well that we're going to keep the chord changes that we did last week. So you'll be, in essence, sort of like reviewing those changes in bar 7 and 8, which, by the way, pushes into bar 9. It's designed to give you some forward motion into the 2 chord. And then we'll also be sort of dealing with these new changes in that first line going into the second line. Let's hear what the chord progression sounds like with everything that we'll have on the sheet for this week. And I want you to really just close your eyes and listen to this progression. 1, 2, 3, 4. Time. Okay, so we're getting closer and closer to doing everything. If I were to go ahead and play through one chorus with absolutely every chord that you would find like in the real book, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Close to that. We're getting closer and closer and closer, right? And don't worry about any of those other changes right now. Here's the thing. You've already proven that you can do it without any of those chords in the most simple way possible, right? So don't worry about what's not in there. I really, really encourage you to not worry about what you're not practicing. And I know that's a mouthful. I know that's like a weird statement, but really think about what that means. Only worry about what you are doing and don't worry about what you're not doing, what you're not considering. Just try to make it sound as good as possible with the materials that you have in front of you. Okay, so you'll get the PDF with those new chords on it. Of course, as we have been doing a lot lately, you will get some trading tracks, so we can sort of trade back and forth in real time. You could hear somebody else handling those changes, and then you go ahead and try your hand at it. And those will be for the Patreon members. If you're new to the podcast and you're wondering what the heck I'm talking about, we're a listener supported show, which means we don't do any ads on the show, even though I keep getting tons of emails to do ads. I just want to keep it listener supported, so your support goes a long way. And the way you can support the show is via a small monthly donation, and for that donation you get a bunch of education materials in return as a companion to these episodes. You can find out more, get signed up, and support the show by going to our website, 10minutejazzlesson.com, clicking on one of the Patreon banners, or going to patreon.com and searching for the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. You can get all the information, you get signed up, you get instant access to everything, and you get instant access to the entire back catalog as well. So there's just a lot going on over there, and we really appreciate your support. So again, 10minutejazzlesson.com, one of the Patreon banners, or patreon.com, search for the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. Have fun with this stuff this week, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.